episode 10. We're officially in double digits. Today we have an amazing guest that perfectly embodies what the show is all about, navigating life's unexpected challenges and chasing what matters most. Mary Bellettieri spent several years working alongside many of us in the meetings and events industry. I actually had the pleasure of sharing an office space with Mary for quite a while. But she's been in the events industry throughout her career, but now she's always carried this dream of becoming a published author, and we're going to talk about how she pushed through to that.
Most definitely. Mary, we are so excited to have you on the podcast and super excited to talk about all of your accomplishments, including 2 published books, VB Il Mento and Bella Vita. And you are also working on a book that is on Kickstarter right now, a children's book that we're going to dive into as well. So super hyper to have you here, and welcome to the podcast. But with that being said, here comes the rain.
So we're going to immediately go off script. Hello, Mary.
Hello, gentlemen.
This Minnesotan probably mispronounced so many things. So pronounce your name for all of us, as well as the name of your books.
Mary Bellettieri. And actually, that is a very good segue as into why my pen name is Mary Bell. Because I was like, first of all, everybody's going to get this wrong. And second, it's too many letters for people to ever spell correctly. So thank you for reminding me why I did that.
Yeah, right on. So Mary Bell is your pen name.
Yes.
Okay. Well, like I said, Mary and I go way back. We used to do meetings and events together. Mary was on the planning side of it and us on the production side. So it was kismet. We had lots of fun on site too. So Mary, tell us a little bit about your background in the events industry.
Yeah, sure. That was probably the best job I think anybody could have right out of college. And it's a funny backstory. I went to the University of Delaware, graduated with a bachelor's degree in hotel, restaurant, and institutional management. Thought I was going to open a nightclub or a restaurant, and I graduated and told my dad and mom, who graciously paid for my college tuition, yeah, I don't think I want to do any of those things. I wasn't exactly sure where I was going after I left, but event planning came at me. I believe it was somebody who knew my father. So I got into event planning where JR and I found each other, and I worked for executive meetings and incentives in New Jersey. And I think for about 2 years, and I loved it. I loved the people I met. I loved traveling around. I loved meeting new people at the programs. Like, traveling right out of college on somebody else's dime and getting to meet different people and just learn a lot about yourself in those very, important years where I find a lot of youth now want to find themselves. And back in the day, even though we're not 80, but sometimes I feel like I am, we found ourselves because you didn't really have a choice. You just worked right out of college. And that's actually a big part of my story. I'm really proud, even though while I was going through it, I've been through a lot of different industries since the event planning industry before I landed here as a self-published author.
Yeah, shout out to EMI, a woman-owned business based in New Jersey. They're amazing. Look them up. Executive meetings and incentives.
Yes.
All right. Well, we stood in a conference room one day, and I think we were just joking around like we normally do. And you dropped this seed of you wanted to write a book someday. And I probably said something very insightful and full of wisdom, like just fucking do it.
Yeah. What? I don't even remember that. I'm amazed that you remember it. And even one of my best friends, she's like, you've been saying you wanted to write a book since college. And I'm like, really? I've always been a good writer. My mother has that quintessential bin of all of my works from when I'm probably 6, 7, 8 years old. And I have had on my bucket list for most of my adult life, write a book. And I didn't. Actually, that's a lie. I actually, at one point, before it was so mainstream, I was going to write almost a memoir that was called Big Boned. And it was about being plus size, larger size stature. And basically how to live your happiest, most confident life, regardless of, how much you weigh, what size you are. And then I realized I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. I didn't want to get so personal in a memoir. And I realized as I sort of went from my 20s to my 30s, I could write a romance novel. I've always loved reading romance books. We vacationed in Italy back in 2015, which is the perfect backdrop for a romance story. And I really think the main thing that forced this was inching towards 40. For anybody who's either hit the 40 mark or you're about to, there's something equally scary and equally awesome as you get there that really puts your life into full force motion. And I think that's what helped me just put my foot on the gas. And as JR so eloquently said, I just fucking did it.
Not to make this about me, but I turned 43 last Wednesday, and 43 is the Wednesday of birthdays. It's really, it's worthless.
Worthless. But you're in motion here with your business and all your ventures. So 40 must have done something, although you spent a whole lot of time working in your 20s and 30s. So, Chris, how old are you?
Take a guess.
Oh, I don't know. 36.
33.
Okay. I only went older because I don't know.
Because I'm old.
I could have said 33.
No, you were pretty close. You're spot on.
Right.
But Mary, I can't help but hear how comfortable you've gotten with pivoting in your career and just learning from what you like and what you don't like and trying things. Can you speak a little bit to how you became so comfortable in that evolution of change and always redirecting and how you manage that?
Yes, I would say first and foremost, shout out to being the baby of the family because you have everybody living their life around you like a spiraling tornado at certain points, and you have to be loud for people to pay attention to you, and you sort of have to take the bull by the horns to get things done when you're the youngest in a family. And I truly believe that helped me have a lot of the characteristics where when I'm not happy with something or I feel just not fulfilled, I do whatever I need and can to change it. I know a lot of people, whether it's their birth order in their family or not, a lot of it boils down to how supportive of a family that you have. So, it's not, I'm, so wonderful and I have the quote balls to go do whatever I want to do. I know that I've always had my parents' backing and now my husband's backing. And even when things are scary financially, hey, what the hell are we doing? What do we do if this doesn't work out? I've just always had that support in my corner. But I think the biggest thing out of everything is I don't ever let myself get stagnant. If I don't feel good about something, whether it be a career, a relationship, anything, I just take the steps to change it. And I keep working towards it until I feel like, okay, yes, this is where I was meant to be. And even when you find where you're meant to be at that particular stage in your life, it doesn't guarantee that you're meant to stay there forever. So you just have to get comfortable being uncomfortable in a lot of those instances to get you to where you're meant to be. And then to also understand, like I just said, doesn't mean that you're going to be there for forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people hold themselves back because of the fear. They stay in jobs they don't like because of fear or money or obligations. And I'd be interested in your perspective on this because I feel like the older you get, the more obligations you have. So when you're 22, fresh out of college, taking a jump and writing a book and not having an income is a lot easier than when you're approaching 40 and you're a mom and a wife and you have a house and a mortgage and all these things to take care of.
Yeah.
What scared you the most and how'd you get over that fear?
Well, most of it is financial. And even still to this day, like my parents are very supportive. Jay is very supportive. And we've sort of adopted this small business entrepreneurial headspace where we know that things are going to be very financially uncomfortable for the next couple of years. So when I started writing, it was about 2 years ago. And I said, it's going to be really difficult for 1 year because what I was doing prior was freelance digital marketing. And I was making decent money working from home. It was perfect because I had just had my daughter. She was only 2 years old at the time. And I decided that I was going to just go full force into writing, which a lot of people don't do. A lot of people do writing part-time while you keep your other jobs for the financial aspect. When I was doing digital marketing and social media for other businesses, that is incredibly time consuming for one company to do it for, let alone multiple. And I said, I'd never see my husband or my kid again if I was trying to do that while writing. So we took the leap. We knew it was going to be financially horrifying, and it has been, to be very honest with you. We've done everything from small loans to home equity lines of credit, like everything you could think of, we've done and are doing. And it sort of at times can keep you up at night. So I just want to be as transparent as possible. Like, you kind of have to get, like I said, comfortable being uncomfortable in order to even take the leap. And actually, I had just said this when we were off air before we started recording. I had to pivot again because we knew what we were getting into for the first 2 years. And do I wish I was making like a full-time income from my books? Yes, but I'm not. And 2 years being an author, most people don't do that. So I just actually recently took a remote position that fell in my lap, and it was impossible to say no to. And speaking of kismet, I just feel like it happened for a reason. And so I'm pivoting again, and I have a remote job that I'm back in the events industry while also propelling everything forward on the author side of things. I have my own podcast as well now. So as they say, I'm doing all the things, even though it's scary, and I just believe in it. And I think that's the most important part. You have to believe in yourself more than anybody else is ever going to, and you just don't quit.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. And I think just to piggyback on that, you learn from all of those experiences.
Oh, yeah.
You learn about yourself, and you learn what you like, what you don't like, why you don't like it. And it makes it that much easier to pivot when you understand this isn't for me, and I'm going to make that call now, and we're going to find something that suits me, that suits my family, and it's going to bring me to where I want to be in life. And it sounds like you exude that through every opportunity that comes your way. And that's kind of similar to JR and I. We really just take every opportunity by the horns and learn from it. And it's been super, super rewarding for us. And it sounds like it has been for you as well.
Yeah, rewarding, scary, it's all of the things combined, but I just think it's a necessary thing because, like I said, once you hit 40, I don't know if JR, you do this, but like everything I do is like, okay, if I do this and it's going to take X amount of years, in another 20 years, I'm going to be in my 60s, and am I going to be happy with like, right? We have like limited amount of time left, and I don't say that to be negative or like to say that we're going to, croak in our city. Like nobody, you hope you're going to last till 90s to 100, but you don't know. So you sort of view everything as, all right, majority of people around me are still relatively healthy, even into their 70s now, and mobile and like everything. How many years do we have left in order to get all these things up on the, off the ground and be able to really enjoy them? And that's sort of what I base everything on. So when I feel uncomfortable, I hate wasting time. So I just want to keep everything moving to get to where I feel in my heart I'm meant to be.
That's a great perspective. I think it's incredibly boring to be comfortable as well. You can spice up your life just like you have your books and really live life on the edge and have something that you're proud of. So when you are 60, 70, even though it was a grind, you'll probably look back at this time fondly and say, it was worth the risk. It was worth the time that we put into it. And Marina gets to grow up with a mom that has a book on their shelf, and like what an image you're setting for her. It's pretty cool. So to switch gears a little bit, because I'm not super familiar with the industry, a little segment we'll call Writing in the Rain. Tell us about self-publishing. What is the emotional and practical grind, and how do you get that book into the Amazon store and promote it?
Yeah, it's a big portion of that has been finding the right people, which has been a lot of research on my part, but also a little bit of luck. Like networking is huge in every industry and every part of your life is, and I'm a true believer of this, is like genuine, authentic connections with people and staying in touch. It doesn't mean you have to talk to each other every day, every month, or even like you and I every year, but we're just always there supporting each other. So when I started writing, or when I decided I wanted to start writing, I Googled, how do you write a romance novel? How long should a romance novel be? How many chapters should a romance novel be? And all of these resources came up. It is the best part about living in this day and age where we have information so easily accessible. And at times it's exhausting. But when you use it properly, like I had every answer I needed right there. So I bought a bunch of books on how to write books, on how to write romance specifically. And then one of the women whose book I bought, Elizabeth Lyons, she had a course, how to publish a profitable book. And it was soup to nuts, everything you have to do, your ISBN numbers, which is on the barcode on the back, cover design, formatting, how to find the right editor for you. So she has been really a treasure chest, and she ended up becoming my editor, which was really when I felt like I was like onto something, because I was dealing with somebody who had multiple books written. She's read a ton of books. She knows a lot of authors. And I was almost embarrassed to ask, like, hey, how do I find an editor for, a newbie book? She's like, well, why don't I take a look at it? And I was like, oh, God. And I said to Jay, I'm like, what if she hates it? And he's like, she's not going to hate it. I'm like, okay. So I send it over to her, and I have a voice note still saved. Colleen Hoover got very, very popular during COVID because she just blew up Book Talk, and she's not much on her end, but like there's so much drama going around her books right now, but she's incredibly popular and very successful. The voice note from Elizabeth said, I think you're going to be my Colleen Hoover, because this is fantastic. It's just like really great writing. It's entertaining. And I had goosebumps. So I knew I was onto something. I had all of her, courses and teachings in order to help propel me forward. And I just kept meeting more people. And then also, like we were talking about earlier, every industry that I have been in, from event planning through marketing, through reception, through being a glorified personal assistant, through doing basically office management and more marketing, and then digital marketing, there's a little piece of all of those things that have helped me build my business and my brand, that helped me start everything. And I haven't had the answers for everything at every given point, but I've found them, or I've found somebody who has them. And it's been super scary. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen from other people who've always wanted to write books is there is no such thing as writing a book and putting out there once and hoping it sells big. Could you go viral on TikTok or social media? Sure. But like we keep saying, it is a grind. I've been doing this for 2 years, and I wish I've sold 10, 20, 30,000 copies, but I've sold over 4,000, and that's really good for nobody knowing who the hell I am. So
that is amazing. Congrats on that milestone.
Thank you.
Yeah. And JR and I have been learning from experience as well. Like, you have to give yourself those pats on the back and recognize and show appreciation for the things that you do accomplish. I think we live in a day and age where it's easy to just keep going and move on to the next goal. But it really goes a long way when you believe in yourself and you validate yourself in those aspects. And it sounds like you brought that to fruition through your books and seeing those real sales of those copies. Like, that's 4,000 people that are reading your book.
Yeah. And it's been a tremendous amount of events too. So a lot of my other author friends are like, how do you know how to have all these events? I was like, oh, well, I started in the event planning industry. So I took all of that, and they're like, Elizabeth Lyons, my editor, she's like, I've never seen anybody do as many events as you have. But it does come second nature to me.
Sure.
A lot of authors are introverted by nature. They want to sit behind their computers and they don't want to do it. And I get it. I actually created a course for authors. It was called Book Promotion for the Extroverted Author, or the One Who Wants to Be, to just give tips of everything that I did. It and I could say it's sort of like just, I don't know, it didn't go anywhere. It was one of those things that I had to market it hard, and I found it very difficult to market my books as hard as I was marketing the course, as hard as I was being a mom. Like, I ran out of time, and I don't know, it's there, and at this point it almost sort of feels stale to me, because also, transparently, I did it right after I had over 4,000 book sales, and my book sales have kind of flatlined. I feel where I am in my journey right now is that I've marketed these 2 books to death, which actually is why I started, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that, the kids book journey, and why I also started a whole nother series too. So I'm just trying to keep doing this because I feel like I've spoken about my first 2 books so much. I just want to keep getting to the next thing. I got a little bit of ants in my pants,
That's a good segue. First of all, I didn't know you were extroverted. Weird.
I would have never thought.
Let's talk about the kids book. I saw you were doing this and it immediately inspired. I've thought about writing a kids book in the past about, those like Little Miss books. I want to do like Little Miss Meeting Planner, Little Miss Production Advisor, and like very specific to the meeting industry.
For careers, that's awesome.
Yeah. But anyways, I saw yours and I thought it was awesome. And I saw Marina attached to it and I thought it was great. So what inspired you to go from romance to children's books?
Basically watching my daughter as she is now and that whole timing aspect. Kids are adorable at this age, anywhere from like, when they're little, something happens around that 7, 8, they're still cute, but they're just a little bit extra sassy, like not as cute, like in like the way that they say things and the way that maybe they like mispronounce stuff or the way that they enunciate things. So I sort of felt like, hey, if I'm going to do kids books, of which it's based on a lot of the lessons that I've learned as a mother, that Jay has learned as a father, of things that we're literally teaching her every day or trying to instill in her every day. I said, I have a limited amount of time to be able to do that. So I sort of had to capitalize on it now before, and also like I'm using her name and her likeness, and kids like right now in her preschool, there's a flyer of me and her and the pictures of our books, and she loves it now.
Awesome.
I think I have a limited amount of time to do that before she gets embarrassed by it, possibly. So it was a timing thing. And then I was also trying to push forward, like, what can I do that won't take as much time where I could still be doing that ladder? And on the way home, we were in Atlantic City for a weekend with Jay's mom, and we had a 3-hour ride home. And I'm like, I can't sit here for 3 hours and not do something, like I need to get some work done. Yeah. And so I propped up my computer on like a bunch of like bags on my lap, because that's a sidebar, but postpartum, everything makes me want to throw up now. So I can't look down on my computer while the car's in motion. So I had to prop it up, and I was like literally typing like this. And I wrote the story, Is Today Tomorrow, in 23 minutes. And it is basically something that Marina has said over and over. And if you are a parent, JR, you know this. You do not tell a child unless it's like the next day that an event is happening, because you don't stop hearing about it for the amount of time from that moment till when the event occurs. Yep. So I could tell her that something's happening on Saturday, and then it'll be Monday, and then the next day, Mom, is it Saturday? I'm like, no, babe, it's Tuesday. How many more days till Saturday? Okay, it's whatever, 5 days. And she's like, okay, what is tomorrow? Is today tomorrow? Oh my God. So it was a great opportunity, and I thought it was just a catchy title, Is Today Tomorrow? And it's, learning and reinforcing the days of the week. The biggest thing for me is the patience behind it. Like, trying to teach a kid patience is a difficult task, but also the most important part is it's great to be excited for things, but while you're being excited for something and while you feel excitement, don't forget to find the good in every day as you're waiting for that other thing to come. Don't wish away your days for something else. So I even designed Find the Good in Every Day shirts, which everything is part of the Kickstarter. And thank you so much, because you were a huge pledge for that Kickstarter campaign, JR and the 180 group. So thank you so much for that. I actually cried when I saw that come through. And that's actually how we started. We got this on the schedule, I think.
Well, my pleasure. But Vivi il momento means live in the moment.
Yes.
So you're carrying this idea through, just in a different way.
Yeah, so actually that's great, because I have books for moms, because they're a little spicy, and the dads, as we spoke about earlier. Dads can benefit from these steamy romance novels as well. Yeah. And yes, and also books for children. So we're a full family, operation here, I guess we could say.
Way to capture that window where the kids want to be on the flyer, and part of it, when you brought that up, I was dropping my oldest Stella off at middle school the other day, and I had the dog in the back, and the dog likes to hang her head out of the window. So I, had the window down, and the dog's hanging her head out, and Stella just turns to me and she goes, "You're not going to let her do that when you drop me off, right?" I was like, it's not like I'm hanging my head out the window. She's cute.
It's a dog. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And I know I have a limited amount of time, because she does that to me now. She has like one of her best friends, actually it's her boyfriend. Ooh. And if I mention his name and I'm like, how is, whatever, she's like, Mom. And like, she gives me the face already. She's 5. And I'm like, don't give me the face. She goes, Mom, stop. I'm like, okay, it happens very quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly.
So go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just going to ask, for the children's book, you decided to go the Kickstarter route to launch it. if you could share with the audience why you chose that route and what the benefits of it were and kind of how it came to light. Curious to know how that came about.
That's a great question because I'm actually half regretting doing the Kickstarter. So like I said, I have my first 2 romance books out already. I had originally sold those as pre-orders on my own website using my experience in e-commerce and digital marketing, and I did great with pre-orders of romance books on my own website. You have to pay a credit card fee, of course, to process payment fee, but I don't have to give any percentage to anybody else besides that. Kickstarter, when I did it for a children's book, it was a suggestion by a really great friend of mine who's also a writer who also wrote a children's book. And it seemed like a great idea based on the possibility that the link could go farther, that it would just be more shareable, that people who maybe peruse Kickstarter on, on their free time, I don't know how that works, but in my mind, I thought more people would be going on Kickstarter searching for children's books, and like I'd get more people who don't know me that would find interest in the project and pledge and, do it that way. There's a handful of names of people who I don't know. I think I'm about 53% funded right now. We have about 2 weeks left, so I'm like there, ish, but it started off really heavy and then it slowed down a lot. So I am slightly nervous about it, but it's okay. It's very much in everything happens for a reason. If by chance it didn't get funded, I'd figure something else out because that's just what I do. Yeah. But I think next time I would probably just try it again on my own website. But I would suggest that for somebody who has an e-commerce background and a digital marketing background. Otherwise, Kickstarter is probably a great way to go. I do feel a little unsettled. Like I'm not sure if I'm going to hit the goal yet. Yeah. But I'm thankful whoever, listens. We'll put the link JR said down below. If you have interest in children's books, you could go on Kickstarter.com and you could search for Is Today Tomorrow as well.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the description later. But yeah, I want to see this on the bookshelves at my Barnes and Noble. So please help this Kickstarter out. And Kickstarter is kind of like, we launched a product in the App Store for a little bit. We ended up pulling it out because we wanted to go enterprise. But we all have this vision in our head. I'm going to put this out in the world. I have this amazing thing and the people will just come. And it just doesn't work like that. And so like you've seen Kickstarter stuff go from like 0 to millions, but those are few and far between.
Oh yeah.
And we embrace the sideways rain here, thus the title. Like what's the reality of the Kickstarter environment that you're finding?
It's dependent upon me sharing it. So, I mean, I haven't, like I said, seen any sort of movement on the Kickstarter side. I get a tremendous amount of what seems like very spammy emails of people and businesses that want to, quote, help get me seen on Kickstarter. But if you're on Kickstarter, it's because you need help, like financially, you need a financial backing.
Yep.
So like I can't sit here and then, look into A, I don't have the time to, but B, I have to now vet a company who wants to help me, but then I'm going to pay them in order to get my Kickstarter. It doesn't make sense to me to do that. I am a little concerned too. Like you do have to give them a percentage, if your project gets funded completely. And I think too, like in sales, you have to not care about, quote, annoying people, but I post as much as I can on social media. I send my emails out. I've shared it personally to people that I know that might have an interest in it. And I am sure to ask, like, hey, even if you can't donate or you don't want to, share the link because maybe somebody else will see it. So you just have to, and that's for anything, even with my romance books. Like, I don't want to be annoying, but I also want everybody to know what it is I'm working on. Yep. Me as a human, I know what I've donated to and what I've supported. I've done a lot, whether it be people who, unfortunately are ill or whatever. Maybe you do have a startup. I have donated myself. So I think it's important to make sure that you're supporting other people before you ask anybody else for support. And then also figure out that fine line between, keeping the communication going so people know what you're doing and then also not being irritating.
Yeah. This isn't in the script. It's just in my head. You're self-published and you're publishing and promoting on your own and marketing on your own. Mm-hmm. What do these big publishing firms look for from someone like you? Because they obviously have a major promotional and marketing arm that you just don't.
Right. And that's actually a really good question, because a lot of people ask, why did I self-publish? It goes back to the ants in my pants. I have my marketing background. I am a go-getter. I am a self-starter. And I wanted to see what I could do on my own to start everything. And from what I see from everybody, when you begin to query, they call it, and you reach out to agents and you're trying to get a publishing deal, it could be hundreds, if not thousands, of queries that you submit before you get a yes, if you ever get a yes. And so when I started following a lot of different authors on TikTok, on Instagram, people are waiting around for years, and their book is, once when you're querying, you can't you can't have it also out there as well. So I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to get caught up in those years, but that's also because I went full time at it. Maybe if I was part-time, I would try to do it if I had a financial stream and then I just wanted to go the published route. A lot of people liken having an actual publisher to super success, and I totally understand that, because obviously what comes with a publishing deal is financial benefit, but you still have to do a lot of marketing on your own. There is no guaranteed marketing for you just because you get a publishing deal. And then you have to make sure that you sell as many books as, whatever is in your contract with them. So I do want to get there eventually, to be very honest with you, but I also wanted to grow my following too, because when you're querying from, again, what I see and hear, publishers also like to see that you have a following, that you have an email base of people, and that you have the ability to be able to market yourself if they offered you, a deal.
So is that a choice you have to make early, like one lane or the other?
I don't think you have to make it, well, you have to decide before, because unless you're like a Colleen Hoover she started out self-publishing.
Sure.
And when she blew up on TikTok, then those publishing people will buy the rights to your book, and then they'll like either reformat or make a new cover, and it'll be theirs going forward. If you're querying right now, and if my books were out and I was pitching to agents, they would not want me because my book's already been sold on Amazon. As far as I know, it's frowned upon for you to pitch when your book is already on Amazon shelves. Otherwise, they are going to be the ones looking to notice people who are like breakout social media, millions of followers, millions of, engagement or whatever.
Sure.
And then they'll be like, all right, we don't care that you self-publish because we see that there's already a ton of people with interest in your books. So, either one of those two things can happen. I can keep going self-publish, and one day maybe that does happen. I do have a goal. I want like a movie adaptation, especially for my Italian books.
Sweet.
Like let's just speak that into existence, guys. Okay.
Movie.
You can come to the movie premiere.
Movie deal.
Yeah.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah. And I have a bunch of others, and that I started a women's fiction series as well. I'm hoping that first book will be out in the summer, but it is a little bit not throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. I have like an organized plan of all the books I want to do. It's just a matter of like prioritizing your time and what's coming out when, and also being realistic about it. Cause I get real bummed if I give myself like goals and then I just, 6 months later, I'm like, oh shit, I was supposed to do that, and it never happened. I like try to be realistic about it.
I need goals and accountability.
Get yourself a clipboard. It has this crazy way of organizing me. I know we all love our electronic stuff. And as you probably could imagine, it's over there. It's silver glitter. Okay. I don't know if you would like the silver glitter clipboard, but it works for me.
I'll take a silver, if you got an extra one.
I don't know. You carry around a clipboard. You just feel very official. So I put all my weekly to-dos and my goal setting there. Makes me feel official.
All right. So that's your accountability, is your clipboard.
Yep.
Sweet. Go ahead,
It's
Chris.
got to be cool meeting. I know you mentioned earlier how you did a lot of events like for your book, and meeting a lot of your readers and those that are fans of you as an author. What was that like in engaging with real people that love your book that you put out? And like, what was that connection like with some of those people?
That's a great question too, because it's one of my favorite things is when I meet people in real life and they're like, Francesca, that bitch. And I'm like, I made her up, you know, like I'll look at Jay because Jay's at most of my events, my husband, and I'm like, do you hear this right now? Like I made all this shit up and people just love it. But that's the nature of it, right? You're an author, you're making shit up. And people, when they do that and they're like, what happened with Mama and Papa and Gennaro, I need one of him in real life. Like, it really feels amazing because that's what you want to do as an author. Like, you want people to get so caught up in your book that, like, and a lot of people said this. They're like, my husband is like, what are you reading again? You know, like they lose their wife for like 2 days so they can finish the book. And in my mind, I'm like, sorry, but I'm not really sorry. That's what I want, you know? But it feels amazing that you could write something that you literally make up. Like, I had inspiration, of course, but I made it up.
Yeah.
And people get that attached to it. It's pretty awesome.
So writing a novel, there's plenty of character development. People get attached to the characters. You get to weave their story chapter after chapter. And then you have a children's book where you have very limited time to do it, very limited vocabulary as far as what you can expand upon. How do you write for both?
It was like a nice little break. Writing a kid's book is very fun. And I think my favorite part of it, because as a parent and as somebody who's read books to my kid, I'm also like a by the book by the cover. So there's beautiful books in her room and I'll open them and I will read them out loud. And the first thing that I think of is, did anybody read this out loud to a child before they published it? Because not everything that you read with your eyes comes out of your mouth the same way. And even my editor taught me that too. When I have conversations in my romance novel, she said, read the speaking parts back like out loud because you could hear how it sounds. Whereas it might read okay when you're typing, but it doesn't sound good out loud. Then you have to change stuff because we have a tendency when we're writing to be more formal. So when you say it out loud, it's just very different. That's totally the same for a kid's book. Is you want it to be basic writing, but you don't want it to be boring. And then you don't want it to be choppy if you're reading it to your kid at the end of the day when they're tired. And like, you need something to capture their attention. So I made sure to read it out loud a bunch of times, make sure it flowed, wasn't too long, wasn't too short. And then also the illustrator that I found, thanks to, again, another one of my very good author friends, writer friends. She's based in the UK. Emma Louise Clark. She has the cutest illustrations. Luby Doobie Illustrator is her Instagram name.
All right.
Luby Doobie.
Yeah.
It's adorable. And you've seen, if you go on the Kickstarter, you'll see what she did, because obviously she created the Marina prototype and the cover. It is exactly what I envisioned. Like, realistic looking, cartoonish, but like not digital, you know, like animation, and not stick figure and not watercolor. Like, I don't know enough about illustration to know exactly the type that she does. All I know is that I love how it looks.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll include that in the description as well, so you can see some of her work.
She's fantastic.
Awesome. What would be your advice to the folks sitting there listening today, maybe stuck in a corporate day-to-day that's not very fulfilling, to make the jump and go after your dreams?
I would say to just start. And what I mean by just start is not, hey, you know, go leave your job and then, you know, throw everything up in the air and hope everything's going to work out. Because like I said earlier, I'm very thankful for the support that I have from my parents and from my husband. And I did have a bit of financial support when I did this. What I mean by just start is that if you have a hobby that is something that you think you might want to take into, you know, a small business, just start small scale. You know, Jay says this all the time too. Like, he started making limoncello and marinated eggplants in a jar, and he's got gabagool hanging, like he's like a little Italian man, hanging in the garage, ready for Easter. Started making fresh regatta. Like, he could have his own little market cafe, you know, and he's law enforcement, you know, so we rely on his benefits and his, you know, stability of his paycheck. So can he do that right now? That might be a little bit too much of financial uncertainty for us. But he started doing it. And like, we've had at least 10 people be like, can I buy that limoncello from you? You have a business right there. You know, like, you have to get your approvals and you have to get whatever you have to do in order to sell stuff like that. But that is essentially what I would say to somebody is whatever it is that you think you want to do, then start small and just see where it goes and leads you so that you don't have to end up just like necessarily doing it the way that I did, stopped everything and started something completely new. Because like I said, I'm lucky enough to now have this new position that'll help us financially. Had that not happened, I would have figured it out, but it would make it a lot more difficult. And, you know, if you're unhappy and you don't know what it is that you want to do, that's completely different. But I would lean into the people that you've met in your life and really network and genuinely network, because there's nothing more annoying than when we've all got it, like the people we went to high school with. Hey, what hair care do you use? I have new products that I'm selling. Like, that's not the networking that I'm talking about. I'm talking about take genuine interest in people's lives before you're trying to spew products at them. And just ask around, you know, spend the time to go hang out with people, have phone conversations, like bring it back a little bit of old school, and be able to figure out who you have in common. Cause that has been a common thread for me as well. The amount of people that I've met from just having genuine conversations with people is astounding. And even us, JR, like I haven't seen you in person for years and years and years, but like Facebook and Instagram, like we send each other Christmas cards, so that's wonderful, and we've always kept in touch that way. So we never lost touch, but like, you know, this is like we were in the conference room yesterday. This is what it feels like, you know.
Leverage
like
your
no
network.
Time.
Yeah. And your friends and your family, and shout out to folks like Jay, and having supportive spouses and partners and friends and parents goes a long way too. And in allowing you to take that risk. I know it helped me for sure.
Yes. And if you don't have that support, like I would very much urge you to cut off the dead limbs that perhaps you have attached to you that are not allowing you to thrive. Because it's like the rotten apple analogy. Like you'll just attract, you know, rotten apples attract rotten apples or whatever, you know, like break out of whatever might be holding you back in order to reach your fullest potential for sure.
Where can our listeners find your stuff?
My website is Mary Bell with an E books.com. Both of my romance novels are on Amazon. You can get there from that website too, but I'll give it to you to put underneath. And the Kickstarter, like I said, you could go on Kickstarter, search for Is Today Tomorrow by Mary Bell, and it'll be there. And the kids' book should be out sometime, I hope, in June or July. And I am also hoping, like I said, the women's fiction series, which will be 3-book series. Each book is a different friend, one who's unhappily married, one who struggles with motherhood, and one who's the crazy single one. Each book is a week-long vacation in Atlantic City, and each book is from a different friend's perspective.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping book 1 of that will be out this summer as well.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait for Is Today Tomorrow to come out.
Thank you.
Ladies, go pick up the other 2. We'll put links in the description. Husbands.
Or men. For your ladies. You can go get them. Yes.
Definitely for the men as well, right?
We've decided there's a mutual benefit.
I got one fun question before we let you go, Mary.
Go ahead.
So I know you said you wanted to get to a movie based on one of your books, right? So where you sit today, if you had to choose between your 2 romance books, which one would it be and why?
Well, the 2 books together are one story. So I left everybody on a cliffhanger after Vivio Memento, which actually I didn't say out loud. Vivio Memento and Bella Vita follows Mia, who is a Jersey girl, on a vacation to Italy. She has a not so one night stand with Polizia from Rome. And obviously they fall in love, and you sort of like the whole premise of it is live in the moment, Vivio Memento, for a beautiful life, Bella Vita. And it's all about Mia not planning everything and living life to the fullest to just see what's out there for her, which was a big thing that I went through during postpartum, learning not to plan everything. And that is the one that I would love to see become a movie so that I could go back to Italy and just watch a whole like beautiful love story just, you know, unfold on the TV screen or the big screen. That's I'm manifesting. Let's manifest together.
Manifest it. Yes.
Yeah.
That'll happen. 2028.
Thank you. Oh, that's a good time frame. Thank you.
Amazing. Mary, like you said, it's been a while since we chatted, but it shouldn't be this long again. But thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. And I just shout out to Sideways Rain, whichever one of you came up with that as a title, as like a premise. Like, it's awesome. I love the whole vibe.
It's a grind. None of this is easy. Let's go.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And thank you for having me.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
All right, Mary's story is certainly a powerful reminder. You don't need anyone's permission to pursue your dreams, but having a support system certainly makes it easier.
Mary Bellettieri, everyone. What a great show. Thank you again for coming on, man. I love it. I'm on my way to the bookstore now. Barnes & Noble, Amazon here.
No, it's not in Barnes & Noble. Although you should go there and you should say,
No.
hey, I heard about this great book. It should be in there.
We got to get in there.
But yes, go on Amazon. Your fiance will have it Sunday.
Sweet.
2-day Prime.
We will.
Prime. Let's go. Okay.
We'll put all the links in the description here, but we'll be back next week. Thanks again to Mary. We'll talk to y'all soon.